we'll go into these series not knowing those rules, and suddenly they'll throw I'm trying to think of a new color, a violet flag, and we're going, wait, hang on, right, get the rule book out. What's a violet flag mean? So
That'd be really interesting. I really want to see a race with a violet flag.
yeah,
Or maybe we can start our own series. We'll look for a name. Just, stay tuned.
hello, welcome to the Motorsport Review. I am your host, Perry Brown. Welcome. Thank you if you're listening along. If you're wondering what on earth this podcast will be, what it is going forward, then, well, you're in the right place. We're going to introduce both the podcast, myself a little bit, as little as possible, and my co-host. So my co-host going forward is a lovely lady by the name of Ray, and we'll get to know her as well later on in the episode. So a very brief introduction to what the podcast will be. It's a Formula One based podcast. So most people around the world that watch motorsport watch Formula One. But there's other series, obviously. There's lots of other series across the world that maybe don't get the same limelight that Formula One gets. They'll get some viewers, and there'll be people that watch some series, but not all of them. So what we're hoping to do with this podcast is compare them, look at them alongside Formula One as Formula One fans, and see what other people might like or dislike about them. So some series obviously include less strategy. Some series include more strategy. So that's how we're going to view it. So we'll be discovering series that we don't watch currently. There'll be some series that obviously I watch that Ray doesn't, and there'll be series that Ray watches that I don't. And along the way, we'll hope to bring some experts or some other fans of those series to help us as we discover those series, especially on the ones where neither of us watch them already. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Ray at this point, who's along for the journey, my victim, if you will, coming along. So welcome, Ray. And straight off the bat, thank you very much for joining me in my quest to fill up my time with more Formula One and more racing.
Oh, thank you, Perry. I mean, I take any opportunity to talk about Formula One, to talk about motorsport in general. So I'm a huge fan. So if anybody wants to talk about it, I have the time. Doesn't matter when, where. So having this opportunity to talk about motorsport on a podcast, it's an amazing opportunity, and I'm glad to be here. So, and I hope you guys join in our journey and you enjoy motorsports the same way we live and breathe motorsports.
That is it. Live and breathing motorsports. I don't know if you're the same. I turn up at work where I'm a design engineer myself. Walk through the office and people stopping me. Did you see the race yesterday? Of course I watched the race yesterday. And you're talking to people that you don't even know necessarily off the street. When I wear my merchandise, that stop you and go, oh my god, you're a fan. Oh, you must. How long have you been watching for? And you just get talking. It's so easy to talk about. Hopefully, because we're recording a podcast, we kind of need to be good at talking about it. But it's strange how many walks of life you find people that follow Formula One. But as I say, when you're wearing other series like motorbikes or supercars or touring cars, doesn't quite have the same pull. They don't have that same global acclaim as Formula One. So I guess my first question, Ray, to you is to discuss what series you currently watch.
I currently watch Formula One. I think if I had to give a percentage, that would be the biggest. I watch every single race. I try to catch every single qualifying session if I can, also the practice session. So basically, I watch Formula One intensely. But I also watch MotoGP. I'm a huge fan, and I've grown more in love with it this year. It was an amazing season with really good competition, and I really can't wait for it to be back. I watch the endurance racing series WEC, but not as as keenly as I should be, or as much as I do watch the other series, Formula One and MotoGP. The WEC series Probably Le Mans because it's a huge deal. You have to watch the 24 hours of Le Mans. And I caught the 6 hours of Bahrain as well. I caught another one, but I haven't been following it as keenly as I should because the endurance championship is really long. They run really long hours, so there's that. WRC a bit, especially when there's a build-up of WRC coming to our country. So it's a bit exciting. It's a whole deal here. It's an entire vacation. People have to go and see it. So I try to catch it as well. So mostly just Formula One and MotoGP. What about you, Perry? I'm sure Formula One is on the list, or we wouldn't have been here.
Formula One is definitely on the list. Yeah, funnily enough. What I love is that you've given that list, and that probably encompasses all the series that I don't currently watch and a lot of the ones that I really want to watch. Hence, I'm going to create a podcast where I'm going to watch more motorsport, because the ones I typically watch, I tend to focus more on single seaters, and I watch Formula 2, Formula 3 as well as Formula 1 on a weekend. So some weekends are very busy. Formula Academy, again, on the same channel, same calendar. And Formula E are probably the top series that I watch. In person, I like to go to Alton Park and watch British touring cars as well. Very excited to discuss that one at some point potentially. I think that's a fantastic series, but we'll obviously get onto that one later on. So in terms of Formula One as well, as I said, I've been watching for some years with that. So 1996, 97 were the sort of first series I remember watching. And you're going to tell me you weren't born back then. I know, I'm sure.
You are a veteran of the sport. They should give you like some sort of medal.
But again, you talk to people and you say, I've been watching since 97. They're like, oh, so you don't remember the turbo era, you don't remember Jackie Stewart, and you go, okay, there's definitely a lot of fans that have been watching for even longer. So it doesn't matter if 2025 is your first season, absolutely fine. 2024 was your first season, if 2000, doesn't matter. It just means that you've got a deeper collection of series that you go, oh, this is when F1 was at its best, I think. Because again, you talk to people, like you asked me, my favorite seasons were around 2005, that sort of era, but only because that's when I was at the peak of enjoying Formula One, and then it's gone its way since then. So what about you? So how long have you been watching Formula One for?
I started watching in 2016. I remember very vividly, very clearly, because it was Lewis versus Rosberg. So I started watching in 2016, but not as deeply as I should, because again, some of us are a bit young. So so watching in 2016, but I started watching properly, if I could use that term, in 2019. So I started watching every single race, every single session, and from 2019, I just grew into the sport. Every race I watch, I get more and more interested in the sport. Actually, funny thing, when I started watching Formula One, I actually went up and looked up the rules. I was like, I want to know what's happening. So I just went up, looked up the rules, and I was like, oh, red flag, black and white flag, checkered flag. And I'm like, okay, interesting. And I made notes. I just actually made notes, and I was like, the next time I'm going to watch Formula One, I'm going to use my notes, at least so I get what is happening. So yeah, that's that season, that kind of season was Mercedes dominance. And funny thing, the person who actually made me come into the sport was Sebastian. And
Really?
I kind of did like him, and I was like, Sebastian is really cool and whatever. But as I watched more races, I was like, okay, Lewis is actually really cool, and he's the only black person, so I kind of relate to that. And he's winning, so I'm relating to someone who's winning. And he's a cool person, so I just switched sides to Lewis Hamilton, and I haven't moved since. But I'm a huge Sebastian fan. It's kind of sad that he decided to retire. So yeah, I'm a 44 fan. It's an amazing, nerve-wracking experience to actually be supporting Lewis Hamilton. And I understand it. We're always, fighting battles on his behalf, but I wouldn't have it any other way. But doesn't mean that I don't support other people. I do have a lot of favorites in the grid. And, a bit, some of my favorites are a bit controversial because I'm a Lewis fan, but I also like Max Verstappen. I like Charles, I like Oscar Piastri. And, the other people I like, are probably not in the top teams, in the midfield teams. And, most people don't really pay attention to the midfield team. So I kind of like rooting for, the guys like Yuki. I like rooting for the midfield teams. So yeah, actually, because you mentioned Formula One Academy, I kind of feel bad because I didn't mention it. When I said Formula One, if you're listening to this, I meant the entire Formula series. Formula One, Formula Two, Formula Three, Formula Academy. Please forgive me. If you see me, don't say that I didn't say Formula One to Formula One Academy. So yeah, I started watching I would say I watched a bit last season, but this season I've made a point, to watch every single race, and I absolutely loved, watching the girls race. My favorite was Abby Pulling, and she won the championship, which is great. And I think it's a great opportunity to bring more women talent into motorsports, and that's actually really lacking. So if we have a chance to actually get a Formula One female driver soon in the next few many years, that would be really great. Yeah.
Certainly would.
Perry is going to give you an entire breakdown of the team he supports.
Yeah. I am, because last Sunday they did something quite amazing. So as I said, I watched Formula One since '97. 98 was the first real year that I remember getting into it, and I was very fortunate because a McLaren driver won the championship, and Mika Hakkinen, and McLaren won the constructors. And then there was a 26-year wait of not winning. Some ups and downs. Obviously, we had Lewis Hamilton win his first championship that people forget in a McLaren. And then there was some years that we don't want to talk about where we used to get excited if we got two McLarens to the finish. 19th and 20th, doesn't matter. We got two cars to the finish. We would celebrate like you wouldn't believe. Like we'd be texting the chats going, "This is unreal. We got two Hondas to the finish. Can you believe it?"
That gap is bigger than my age.
Yeah.
So if you're a McLaren fan and you start watching, like 97, 98, like Perry, I, I should buy you all something, just a small token of appreciation for not ditching your team.
Yeah.
I don't know if most people could do that. 26 years is a long time to be supporting a team that, you're hoping it's going to win a championship. But, I feel like McLaren, it's been a bit consistent, but there's that hope. So you're better than Ferrari fans because Ferrari, it's their year every year. This year was their year. Next year is their year. So
Yes, yeah, I have to agree. I love when they come out and say it's our year, and I think, yeah,
it's
okay.
always Ferrari's year.
I mean, we'll talk about it very soon, but it almost was the year. But yes, I'm a McLaren fan. This year was our year, and we managed to seal the championship. So yeah, on my social media, you'll see me in front of the papaya lit sign, celebrating with some other people I was watching the race with, because these things now, as you say, we've gone on that long journey of not winning. So I wasn't going to miss it in case it's another 26-year wait, because that can happen. And it's funny you mention, oh, if you're a McLaren fan, you're better than Ferrari fans. My dad would hate me if I didn't mention that he, as a Ferrari fan, had to wait from 1979. He had to wait 20 years for the next champion. And this is, again, a team that builds themselves on championships. So I think everyone goes through that journey at some point where you're supporting, holding faith, talking to people, saying, "You still support McLaren?" Yes, I still support McLaren. Yes, I know we're awful. I know the results aren't coming our way, but you have to believe that in 4 years' time we'll score a point, hopefully. And that's part and parcel of being a Formula One fan, and hopefully part of following other series as well. You'll follow drivers, you follow teams in those other series perhaps that go through those low times, and I think it's during those lows that the fans really are what the teams go racing for, because results aren't coming their way, but the fans are still messaging them on social media going, don't give up hope because we still believe in you.
Yeah,
And I
we're
think
gonna
that's
do
really,
it. We can do it. Keep going. We believe in you. Yeah, it's I would say I feel like the fact that I enjoy Formula One is what makes me enjoy watching other series. And other series, I do not compare them to, Formula One because they're totally different. But the things about Formula One that actually make you like other series or like watching other series. I mean, for me, the fact that I watch MotoGP, it's very different from Formula One, completely different. These are bikes, these are single seater cars, so it's completely different. But we kind of you can pick some aspects in Formula One and put them in MotoGP, and it kind of makes you want to, you know, be like, okay, this MotoGP, what happens? How is the point scoring system? Who's the quote unquote goat? Who who's fighting for championships? Who can I compare to Max Verstappen in Formula One? So there's all these aspects of Formula One that actually make watching other series very interesting. And thank God MotoGP doesn't really clash with Formula One, so you can watch it before or like after you watch Formula One. So it's amazing, I would say. I would
it's
encourage everybody, if you watch Formula One, just, try put something else on. Try watch something else. Because then, sometimes you're scrolling on TV, you see a random, series, and you're like, what is this superbike? What's this about? So yeah, I would encourage everybody to, just try and watch something else for, I wouldn't say for a change, but to expand also your knowledge on matters motorsports.
absolutely, it's why we're doing this. As you say, we're going to discover other series as we go. And MotoGP, as I say, MotoGP is one of the big ones where I've got a
Yeah.
colleague at work and he won't talk to me about Formula One because he knows that I'll talk for 40 minutes at him and he doesn't watch it. But he'll come to me and say, did you watch MotoGP? Because for years I've been telling him I will watch MotoGP. And finally in 2025, I'll go to him and say, I watched MotoGP. I did it.
Finally, I have
So that's
something
one
to
thing.
say. You don't worry. I can give you some notes. I can give you some, write some notes for you. You can cheat a bit. I tell you, this is, who you should be looking at. This is how the championship is gonna shape up. You can strike a conversation. Who do you think is gonna win, the next title? Do you think it's gonna be Mark Marquez? And it's like, wait, where did you know that? Did you just Google it? No. I've been following MotoGP. I told you I'm gonna watch it. Now it's my time.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to fly anymore when I tell him that I really hope next year is Valentino Rossi's year. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be very interesting, and I can go away from this podcast and sound like a fraud in so many different motorsport series languages. So it's gonna be interesting. One of the other series that I'm
Mhm.
really interested in watching, as I say, single seater fan here mainly. One of the ones I haven't seen or watched intently that I really want to watch is Super Formula. So we I think we both said Formula 2 is a world series that supports Formula 1. In America, you've obviously got IndyCar. I think it's huge over there. They call it the World Series, but we know it's pretty much just an American
Yeah.
series.
So they call everything the World Series. Anyway, I digress.
So so IndyCar's over there. I don't know what level you want to put that at, but over in Japan you've got Super Formula, and it's one series that, as I say, I've really wanted to get into for a few years because the cars are so powerful. They've got a lot of downforce. They're almost at Formula One level, and you can tell that because just this week they had an out-season test, and Haas sent Ollie Berman over there to test in the Super Formula car. Now he's not testing because he might race in the series, but purely as preparation for Formula One in 2025. Because apparently standing in for, was it 2 or 3 races wasn't enough preparation as it was. So that's one series I'm really looking forward to. But Ray, is there any series that you don't currently watch that you would like to see or look forward to seeing?
Definitely. I wanna start watching Formula E. I saw the highlights for the Sao Paulo, Grand Prix, and it was, I was shook. I was like, wait, this is intense. This is intense. It seems like it's, I don't want to go with it expecting drama every race, but I saw enough, to make me want to, pivot and go and watch Formula E. Also IndyCar, because I think it's also becoming very mainstream. So I kind of want to see what the hype is about, basically. And because there's a lot of, Formula One and IndyCar, you kind of see people from Formula One going into IndyCar. Um, I want to see the progress, whether they're doing well or anything like that. If there's potentially going to be an IndyCar driver coming into Formula One, when Cadillac comes to F1, I don't know. So it's kind of good to have a bearing in that sport as well. Yeah, maybe the Super Cup. I'm not sure. I'll just see how the calendar is and if I can make time for all those motorsports, because unfortunately some are really really like late into the night or like super early in the morning. So there's a lot of factors.
I
But yeah,
definitely
I'm really
think
excited.
quite often we might just dip into one race to talk about it, and then part of the podcast will be saying, well, as both of us being new fans, or one of us being a new fan to the series, what could we find straight away that we liked, or would it take a few more races before we finally were on board? As you say, when you're a new fan to Formula One, you were making notes. I'm going to learn the rules. Well, we'll go into these series not knowing those rules, and suddenly they'll throw I'm trying to think of a new color, a violet flag, and we're going, wait, hang on, right, get the rule book out. What's a violet flag mean? So
That'd be really interesting. I really want to see a race with a violet flag.
yeah,
Or maybe we can start our own series. We'll look for a name. Just, stay tuned.
yeah,
We might just start our own series.
it's the flag that says let Perry through and win. If I'm running second or third, then throw the violet flag, and it means let him through, let him win the race.
And
We'll start that.
unless you're competing with me, then we're just gonna crash out. I'm sorry. It's
There's
only
that
fair.
Verstappen fan. I didn't say the
He
first
said
episode.
it. He said it, not me. He said it, not me.
Yeah, cancelled already. I can't believe it.
What?
Well, I think as far as introductions go, that was quite in depth. So I think we'll call it there. And next time you hear from us, we'll be reviewing Formula One. We've got a few 2024 races and the season to review. So we'll bring those to you soon, shortly. In the meantime, thank you for listening to this. Thank you, Ray, again for joining me.
It's a pleasure, always. I'm ready. Just send me a call, tell me you want to discuss motorsport, and I'll be ready. But yeah, thank you for inviting me.
A pleasure. As I say, thank you for indulging my thirst for wanting to talk about Formula One and about racing. So hopefully we
Yeah.
can do that and have a lot of fun along the way.
Yeah. And people might think that we've actually known each other for a long time. And that's another thing about motorsports, connects people from all over the world, from different walks of life. So yeah, it's kind of funny that we met online, over the internet, just discussing Formula One, and we're like, yeah, why not do this? Why not do this?
I put
So yeah,
a
it's
thing out
amazing.
on Threads. I just said, anyone want to start a podcast? Thinking people would just go, shut
Like
up,
me,
Perry.
me, 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 me.
And as I say, we weren't even following each other. That's how insane this was. So 6 months ago, we had no idea each other existed, and now we're here, connected across the world, discussing on a podcast. So hopefully you'll listen to us talking about Formula One and join us. So thank you for listening, and until we meet next time, thank you, and have a good day.